Chapter 31 Strolling in the Sword Intent. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Absurd. It's really ridiculous. Such a waste is also sent to participate in the Yuanmen martial arts competition. Who do I think the Yuanmen is? That the leader of the old man had a straight beard and wished he could just walk away. The young warriors of Zheqiang are really inferior to each other. On the other hand, the old woman on the left looked at Han Yang with a smile and said, maybe that little guy is different, maybe. The other two old men looked at Han Yang a few more times. Second level of bone forging. 18 years old, his bone age is average. He can barely be considered a third-grade genius. Seeing Han Yang's cultivation, the two old men had a worse impression of the younger generation in Luo City. If he is suppressed by a first-grade genius or a super-grade genius, that's it, being frightened into this kind of behavior by a third-grade genius, they are really a bunch of useless trash. The old woman smiled, said no more, and took a step forward, boom. The next moment, an aura belonging to the peak of bone forging swept across the entire place. The old woman's body seemed to be covered with a halo, dazzling with brilliance. Even her appearance became much younger with the explosion of aura. The thousands of young warriors in Luo City below fell silent for an instant, with their faces turning red as they resisted the terrifying pressure coming from above. Fortunately, those bone-forging warriors, those in the body-tempering realm, had already turned pale, and their two limbs were fighting. I believe that each of you understands the rules of the Yuanmen martial arts competition. I will stop talking nonsense. The old woman's voice spread throughout the Luoqing examination center, as if ringing in everyone's ears. Han Yang looked at the Yuanmen elder with a hint of surprise. The same peak bone forging, perfect state, but this old woman's peak bone forging is obviously more than a step behind Li Xuanyu, the wine and sword immortal. There is clearly a huge gap between the two. The first level of martial arts selection, sword selection, that the old woman pointed her finger, and a long sword suddenly came out of its sheath, and the sound of dragon roar echoed in all directions. This long sword, crystal clear and as thin as a cicada's wings, actually floated in the void automatically without wind. Those who have entered the Thousand Leaves Divine Sword 100 steps can enter the Yuan sect and become an outer disciple. Those who take 50 steps into the Xianxia Divine Sword can enter the Yuan sect and become an inner disciple. Now, the sword selection begins. Following the old woman's order, two huge circular marks appeared around the thousand-leaf divine sword. It's exactly the distance between 100 steps and 50 steps. The thousand-leaf divine sword can be transformed into 9. It is mysterious and unpredictable. It is one of the treasures of the Yuanmen sect. Each time, the 9 points of the divine sword were used to assess the warriors of the 9 cities respectively. Those young warriors in Luo City no longer cared about being afraid of Han Yang, but stepped forward together and rushed towards the Xianxia divine sword. This is a fate-changing moment. If they cannot enter the Yuan sect, most warriors will end up at around the 4th level of bone forging throughout their lives. Only by entering the Yuan sect and obtaining the resources and techniques in the Yuan sect can we hope to break through the middle and late stages of bone forging. Puff puff. The moment these young warriors approached the Xianxia divine sword, blood grooves appeared on each of them. Wisps of sword intent bloomed from the body of the divine sword, cutting the body of every warrior like sword energy. Get away! A bone-forging warrior roared, and the bones on his body shone with light. For warriors at this level, it is not too difficult to enter the 100 steps. However, the number of bone-forging warriors only accounted for an extremely small part of the thousands of warriors present, only less than 20 or 30 people. Each of these 20 or 30 people is a direct descendant of a large family in Luo City. If Lin Yuhan had not been deposed, he would have been one of these 20 or 30 people. It's a pity that this third-level genius fell into the hands of Han Yang before he could shine his own light. Oh, that boy is finally willing to start. The 3 old women among the examiners looked at Han Yang with a smile. She was very curious about how far this little guy, who was so powerful among the younger generation in Los Angeles, could go. At this moment, a sound like morning bells and evening drums sounded in the Xianxia Valley. Zhang Wuyou from Gray City, 17 years old, 3rd level bone forging, 10 steps into the thousand-leaf divine sword. Congratulations. The word congratulations clearly reached everyone's ears. The faces of those young warriors in the body-tempering realm instantly turned pale, and they even staggered a little. 10 steps. Is that human being? They were already struggling 140 or 50 steps away from the 1,000-leaf divine sword. That person actually entered the 10-step range of the divine sword. Even a bone-forging genius felt dejected when he heard this result. 17 years old, 3rd level of bone forging, simply a monster. These people, from the big families in Luo City, have taken countless genius treasures since childhood, and only reached the bone forging realm when they were 18 years old, but this Zhang Wuyou actually achieved the 3rd level of bone forging at the age of 17. The talent is not just a little bit strong, as long as one bone is tempered, it is one level of bone tempering. 2 bones are the 2nd level of bone forging, but if you want to advance to the 3rd level of bone forging, you need to forge 4 bones. This is a realm that is beyond the reach of the children of these big families in Luo City. Thinking about Sheng, who practiced in Yuanmen for 4 years and fought on the battlefield for 3 years before he could reach the 5th level of bone forging. He knew how terrifying it was for Zhang Wuyou to have the 3rd level of bone forging before he started. Interesting, Yuanmen's martial arts selection actually uses such methods. Instead, a smile appeared on Han Yang's face because of the news. The so-called sword selection actually tests the martial will. Whether a warrior can move forward under the suppression of the sword's will actually has little to do with his cultivation level. It was just a subtle influence that made those body-tempering warriors feel that they were inferior to bone-forging warriors. As for promoting the achievements of geniuses in this way of morning bells and evening drums, it also suppresses the minds of the martial arts candidates. If you are affected by this news, you will naturally not be able to achieve good results. In the martial arts selection, not only the sword selection is an assessment, but everything that happens during the sword selection falls within the scope of the assessment. Lu Qingshi, 18 years old, 3rd level bone forging, 10 steps into the 1,000-leaf divine sword. Congratulations. That when the roll call sounded for the 2nd time, the expressions of the bone forging warriors in Luo City had already begun to become very ferocious. Ah! A young man in black clothes roared like a beast, strode forward, and rushed within 50 steps in an instant. This young man is clearly a 2nd-level bone-forging warrior, but other bone-forging warriors were struggling, almost stopping at 50 steps. Originally, for the 1st level of bone forging, there was no difficulty in advancing 50 steps, but the 2 roll calls of Yuanmen actually made these weak-minded guys doubt themselves. Except for that little guy in Xuani, everyone else is useless. The 2 male elders had a hint of disdain on their faces, and their impression of Luo Cheng's participation in the martial arts competition this time fell to the bottom. A playful smile appeared on the old woman's face. Don't jump to conclusions yet. Look at that little guy who is so powerful in Luo City. What about shocking Luo City was naturally a joke, but the other 2 elders also knew who the old woman was talking about and subconsciously turned their heads to look. Something's wrong. The 2 of them were shocked to find that Han Yang, dressed in white, was walking towards the Xianxia divine sword as if he was strolling in a courtyard, seemingly unaffected by the sword's intention. What the hell, how can this be? Chapter 32 The Chen family lost its dragon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What special technique has he practiced? The old man frowned, the old woman sneered. What kind of technique have you seen that can resist the sword intention of the Xianxia divine sword? The old man was speechless. If you can resist the sword intention of the divine sword by practicing any kind of skill, then the Xianxia divine sword will be in vain. This boy's talent may be stronger than what he shows. The 3rd examiner, a middle-aged man in black, looked at Han Yang with a bit of surprise. There are not many warriors whose level cannot keep up with their talent, because anyone with talent will be trained by the family with all their strength. Even if they use a pile of elixirs, they will be able to pile up a 3rd or 4th level of bone forging. Someone, go check this young man's identity. The middle-aged man in black waved his hand, and a disciple in green immediately followed the order respectfully and left. 50 steps. Judging from his state, it shouldn't be too difficult to reach 20 steps. The old woman's eyes were already full of splendor. The current martial arts selection in Luo City are all useless. It would be a surprise if a 2nd-grade genius could emerge, but Han Yang was reborn for the 9th time, and his will was so strong, this mere sword intention could not affect his mind at all. Against the cold sword edge, Han Yang strode forward. Evildoer. He is indeed a monster. Those warriors who were surpassed by Han Yang looked at his back, and the feeling of powerlessness in their hearts became more and more obvious, looking at other people strolling around, and then looking at myself struggling. These people have to say with emotion that they are the same people but have different fates. Soon, Han Yang surpassed almost all the first-level bone forgings. In front of him, there were only 3 second-level bone forgings and 1 bone forging first level. Still in front, hearing the light footsteps coming from behind, the 4 of them turned around subconsciously. Then, they saw Han Yang, who was walking towards them as if he was out on an outing. The 4 of them staggered. Their originally steady steps became shaky, and they were almost pierced by thousands of arrows from the sword. This, still not human anymore. The 4 people who were shocked lowered their heads and stopped looking in the direction of Han Yang. Snapped. Han Yang rushed forward and surpassed the first person in Luo City, that young man in black clothes. The face of the young man in black clothes twitched, the corners of his eyes even cracked, and blood oozed out. His martial arts heart was completely destroyed by Han Yang. 30 steps, 25 steps, 21 steps, boom. Han Yang's feet trembled, and he was only 20 steps away from the Xianxia divine sword. A second-grade genius is really delayed by his realm. There was a hint of joy in the old woman's eyes. It is a worthwhile trip to gain a second-grade genius. As for the other Luo City warriors, she has completely ignored them. With Han Yang's pearls in front of him, even the young man in black clothes couldn't catch the old woman's eye. The middle-aged man in black nodded with a smile. Although the young man in white may stop 10 steps away, with this talent and the resources of Yuan men, he can catch up to the level soon. At this moment, the sound of morning bells and evening drums sounded again. Chuqing Yanshan, 18 years old, 3rd level bone forging, 10 steps into the 1,000-leaf divine sword. Congratulations. Hearing this voice, the old woman couldn't help but shook her head and sighed. It's a pity that this boy in white was born in a small place like Luo City. If he had come from a big city like Taichung or Gray City, he would be as famous as the 3 people in front of him today. Valley. The other 2 examiners also sighed, feeling that Han Yang must have been delayed by Luo City. Just as the 3 examiners had just finished speaking, suddenly, the sound of morning bells and evening drums rang for the 4th time. Huaqing Yanqing, 17 years old, 3rd level bone forging, 7 steps into the 1,000-leaf divine sword. Congratulations. 0.7 steps. The faces of the 3 examiners changed. At the age of 17, at the 3rd level of bone forging, he was already on the threshold of a first-level genius. The 7th step into the Xianxia divine sword is above the first level, and it is only 2 steps away from the super level. For a warrior of this level, after entering within 10 steps of the Xianxia divine sword, every step will be a huge difference. Chibu is definitely a genius that Yuan men encounters only once in 10 years. Huaqing is also a small town like Luocheng. It can actually cultivate a first-level genius with a 3rd-level bone forging. What's going on? The old woman looked a little embarrassed. She had just made an excuse for Han Yang, but she was slapped in the face by Yan Pianqing. Those who can enter the 7th step of the divine sword cannot be judged by common sense. Junior sister Shui, you don't need to worry about it. The old man comforted the old woman, but he couldn't comfort the old woman much. Just when the old woman was about to say something, the morning bells and evening drums rang for the 5th time. Han Yang, Luocheng, 18 years old, 2nd level bone forging, 10 steps into the 1,000 leaves divine sword. Congratulations. Click. The old woman twisted her neck too fast, and even made a strange clicking sound. She looked at Han Yang in shock, only to find that Han Yang had entered the 10-step range of the divine sword at some point. This uses the 2nd level of bone forging to enter the 1,000 leaves divine sword 10 steps. If I remember correctly, the last time this miracle was achieved was Master Chu Lan, right? The old man opened his mouth and said with some uncertainty, Chu Lan, 20 years ago, entered the Yuan sect as a 2nd-level bone forging and first in the martial arts competition and became a direct disciple. 18 years ago, the 7th level of bone forging. 14 years ago, the 9th level of bone forging was completed. 10 years ago, I entered Ningqi. Could this Han Yang become the 2nd Chu Lan? Thinking of such a possibility, the three examiners' bodies trembled. With their support, such a genius could be born, with such a passionate love, which would be of great help to their future. Quick! Go and urge him, and submit Han Yang's information to me immediately. We want to know everything about him. That the middle-aged man in black began to urge urgently. Before Xianxia, thousands of candidates in Luo City were already sluggish. The previous 4 morning bells and evening drums sounded, which made them feel depressed and even shaken their martial arts aspirations, but they also felt more or less that such genius had nothing to do with them, too far away from myself. But now, the 5th sound of morning bells and evening drums is for them Luo City. Warriors, at this moment, all the warriors in Luo City felt mixed emotions. Outside Tianqi Valley, Han Yang, Luoqing, 18 years old, 2nd level bone forging, 10 steps into the 1,000 Leaves divine sword. Congratulations. That when this sound reached the ears of all the farewell teams outside the valley, many people instantly became excited. The Supreme Elder is so wise that the elders of the Lin family turned pale and were filled with fear. This time, the Lin family also had martial artists participating in the Yuanmen martial arts competition. Naturally, their talents were not as good as those of Lin Yuheng, which caused the Lin family to lose face. Previously, many elders of the Lin family had criticized Han Yang. Some people even think that Supreme Elder Lin Wuyang is too timid and should not let Han Yang go so easily. If Lin Wuyang and Yi Bufan had joined forces that day, they might not have been able to kill Han Yang and avenge Lin Yuheng, a genius disciple of the Lin family. But now, after hearing Han Yang's roll call twice in a row, the previous anger of the Lin family elders disappeared in the blink of an eye. Instead, there was a hint of happiness. They all know very well that the future of a genius who can be called by morning bells and evening drums to enter the 10th step, is in sight. Even if you can't gather energy, you can definitely reach the peak of bone forging, or even reach perfection. Han Yang, the rise of the Chen family's son-in-law, is unstoppable. It was really a wise move for the Supreme Elder to lower his head and resolve the grudges with Han Yang. Hey, tell me, if those old guys from the Chen family knew this news, would they regret it and vomit blood? An elder from a big family in Luo City chuckled unkindly. Suddenly, there was a burst of laughter in the area. The Chen family's loss of Han Yang is like the emperor's loss of Joding. It is an irreparable loss. The Chen family is short-sighted and ignorant. It is simply laughable. Chapter 33 Li Dian My only opponent is Zhang Wuyou. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The natural chasm valley and the nameless peak. It was originally a desolate place, but at some point a wooden house was built with expensive golden nanmu. Although the place is not spacious, it is extremely luxurious. The tea sets made of various spiritual materials and the carpets sewn from the furs of monster beasts give off an aura of wealth. Only the 3 major families in Taichung can create such a blessed place on earth in the desolate Tianxia Valley. However, at this moment, the owner of this room, Li Shushan, the Supreme Elder of the Li family, looked a little unhappy. Elder Mo, although you have a noble status as a member of the Yuan clan, I, the cub of the Li family, am also a member of the Yuan clan. It is unjustifiable for you to go astray like this. Li Shushan had already picked up the teacup and was ready to see off the guests, which showed the annoyance in his heart. Elder Mo said with an indifferent expression, I'm not trying to be biased. Your Li family colluded with the Four Seasons building and sent assassins to assassinate the Yuanmen's candidate disciples. There must be an explanation for this matter. At this point, Elder Mo changed the topic and said coldly, perhaps you hope that I can directly go through the Yuanmen and find the mastermind Li Yao. Hearing that Elder Mo actually said his name, Li Shushan couldn't help but secretly scold Li Yao for being a waste. When it comes to assassination, people from the Yuan clan can actually get their hands on it. After all, he did not dare to serve tea directly in front of the elders of Yuanmen. Li Shushan said with a dark face, Elder Mo, I, the little tiger of the Li family, will have to call the Yuanmen at dawn and dusk this time. You really have to do something for a mere person. The well-known son-in-law of the Chen family has offended my Li family. Elder Mo's mouth twitched. Indeed, if the young tiger of the Li family could sing the bells and drums in the morning and evening, and roll call in the Yuan sect, then the number of core disciples would be indispensable, and his status would still be above that of the elders of the outer sect. If you offend rashly, there will be endless troubles. However, the Li family had previously arranged for the Four Seasons Tower to lure him away and then assassinate Han Yang. They clearly did not take him, the elder of the Yuan men, seriously. I can't bear this tone. Humph, your Li family. Seeing that the two of them were about to fall out completely, at this moment, a voice sounded from the sky and was clearly transmitted to the ears of the two of them. Han Yang, Luocheng, 18 years old, second-level bone forging, 10 steps into the Thousand Leaves divine sword, congratulations. The expression of Supreme Elder Li Shushan froze instantly. Elder Mo was also stunned for a moment, then suddenly burst into hearty laughter. Ha ha. Li Shushan, what do you say now? Li Dian, the young tiger of the Li family, who has high hopes for him, has not yet been called out, but Han Yang has already done so, not to mention, Han Yang used the second level of bone forging to reach 10 steps of the Thousand Leaves divine sword, which is even more rare. It can be seen that at least after entering Yuan Men, the status of the two of them is slightly higher than that of Han Yang, but they are still comparable. Li Shushan gritted his teeth for a moment and finally said helplessly and viciously, 10 third-level elixirs, no more. 20 plants. Elder Mo sneered. Li Shushan stood up suddenly and said angrily, you just said you only wanted 10 third-level elixirs as compensation. Why are you kidding me? Elder Mo said calmly, just now is now. Elder Li, do you agree or not? Seeing the joking expression on Elder Mo's face, Li Shushan felt his teeth itching with hatred, but there was nothing he could do. Han Yang, the morning bells and evening drums, the Yuan men roll call, the future is limitless. If you don't make compensation now, when you enter the Yuan men, it won't be something that 10 or 20 third-level elixirs can solve. Okay, you are cruel enough. I hope that boy can always have smooth sailing. Full of anger, Li Shushan walked away, forgetting that this was his Li family's territory. Elder Mo stood up and looked at the trial position, stroking his beard and smiling. Boy Han, it's incredible. In one day, he became a second-grade genius. I'm very happy to congratulate you. Well, there's Lao Nan, too. Wrong person. Taichung Test Center, compared with the Los Angeles Test Center, the candidates here are much stronger. There are even nearly 100 warriors in the bone forging realm. At this time, there were a dozen people standing 20 steps away from the Xianxia divine sword. Li Dian, the cub of the Li family, is also one of them. Veins were popping out on his face, and his face was extremely ferocious. Originally, with his martial arts will, he should have advanced 10 steps to the Thousand Leaves divine sword. Unfortunately, during the battle at the city gate that day, he was repulsed by Han Yang's move, and his martial arts heart was damaged. At this time, he actually stopped at the position of 13 steps away from the Thousand Leaf divine sword, and was struggling to move forward. The other Taichung geniuses were secretly surprised when they looked at Li Dian's figure. Could it be that the Li family's tiger cub has a false reputation, but in reality it only has so much ability? Snapped. At this moment, the sound of a folding fan opening was heard, and a figure emerged from among more than 10 people. Everyone, I am taking the first step. This figure resisted the pressure of the Xianxia divine sword and moved forward step by step. Even though his whole body was covered in blood, he did not stop. The third son of the Zhang family, Zhang Wuyou, among the three major families in Taichung, the Feng family has been in decline, and no genius of this grade has been born this year. As for the Li and Zhang families, there are two people, Li Dian, the cub of the Li family, and Zhang Wuyou, the third son of the Zhang family. Now, Li Dian's martial arts heart was damaged, but Zhang Wuyou had gained the upper hand. Boom. Zhang Wuyou stepped within 10 steps of the Xianxia divine sword. At this moment, the sound of morning bells and evening drums rang. Han Yang, Luocheng, 18 years old, second-level bone forging, 10 steps into the Thousand Leaves divine sword, congratulations. Zhang Wuyou was startled for a moment, then chuckled and said, as expected of the person I like, he does have some abilities. Before he finished speaking, his other foot also stepped within 10 steps. Taichung Zhang Wuyou, 18 years old, third-level bone forging, 10 steps into the Thousand Leaf divine sword, congratulations. Almost immediately after Han Yang, the roll call of Zhang Wuyou, the third son of the Zhang family, started. When Li Dian heard Han Yang's name being sung, he almost took a step back as if he had been struck by lightning. A trace of blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. Hearing Zhang Wuyou's name again, his chest heaved and he spurted out a mouthful of blood. No, he roared with a distorted face, I am the cub of the Li family, the #1 genius in Taiching. I will never lose to a mere son-in-law, let alone a hypocrite like you, Zhang Wuyou. A boiling fighting spirit burst out of Li Dian's body and shot straight into the sky. Boom. 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 Li Dian actually took 3 steps in a row and entered the 10-step range of the 1,000-leaf divine sword with an unstoppable momentum. Taiching Li Dian, 18 years old, 3rd level bone forging, 10 steps into the 1,000 leaves divine sword, congratulations. The sound of morning bells and evening drums begins again. In less than 3 breaths, the roll call sounded 3 times in a row. This Li Dian awakens his fighting spirit at a critical moment, and his future is limitless. The 3 examiners at the Taiching Test Center were also very satisfied with Li Dian's performance. In particular, Li Dian actually awakened his fighting spirit, which made the 3 of them look at him with admiration. The corners of Zhang Wuyou's mouth twitched fiercely. Living up to his reputation as a young tiger, Li Dian actually became more courageous with every setback, which was really unexpected, but no matter what, the second test will be more interesting. Zhang Wuyou. After entering Yuan Men, you and I will definitely have a fight. Li Dian stood tall and straight, all the anger in his heart had been vented, and he looked at Zhang Wuyou, the 3rd son of the Zhang family, with burning eyes. As for Han Yang, he's just a kid who gained power for a while, without the support of family resources. Even if they enter the Yuan sect, they will never be able to keep up with the advancement speed of their family members. His opponent was Zhang Wuyou from beginning to end. However, at this moment, the sound of morning bells and evening drums rang out again. Luoqing Han Yang, 18 years old, 2nd level bone forging, 7 steps into the 1,000 leaves divine sword, congratulations. All the martial arts contestants and elder examiners at the 9 major examination sites in Xianxia Valley were silent. Chapter 34. This person should only exist in heaven. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 7 steps. 7 steps. How can this be? Such thoughts arise in everyone's mind. During the sword selection, when a roll call occurs, it means that the person has reached the end and cannot move forward. The second roll call rarely occurs in the Yuan sect sword selection. Not to mention, during the second roll call, Han Yang actually advanced from 10 steps to 7 steps. Within 10 steps, 1 step leads to the world. Every step represents a gap as wide as a chasm in talent. The second level of bone forging, within 10 steps, is a second-level genius. The second level of bone forging, within 7 steps, is a first-level genius. Even if it's not as good as Yan Pianying's 17-year-old third-level bone forging, it's still first class. In a martial arts competition, 2 first-class geniuses appeared. This was a grand event that had not happened in the Yuan Men for 100 years. All the examiners' eyes have been cast in the direction of the Luoqing Examination Center. Even those geniuses who withdrew from the sword competition after the roll call looked at the Luo City Test Center in surprise. But at this time, the 3 examiners at the Luoqing Test Center also looked confused. What's the situation? The first roll call meant that Han Yang was exhausted and could not continue to move forward, but they watched helplessly as Han Yang seemed to suddenly remember something and continued to take 3 steps forward. These 3 steps will take a second-grade genius to the first-grade level, a first-rate genius. This Han Yang, did he suddenly awaken to some martial arts artistic conception? After a long silence, the old woman gave an answer very unconfidently. It seems to be the only reason that can explain Han Yang's second roll call. The other 2 examiners were silent. The scene of awakening the artistic conception of martial arts is so amazing, but Han Yang's body is clearly a mess, without any ripples, can't see through. I can't understand either. The 2 peak bone forging elders found that they couldn't see through Han Yang, a junior candidate. 7 steps, it should be almost done, right? Han Yang said something secretly in his heart. In fact, the reason why he took 3 steps again after taking 10 steps was because he suddenly remembered something. If there are ruins in Yanhua Valley, it will inevitably become the important place of Yuan Men, and no one can get close to it. If he only enters the Yuan sect as a second-grade genius, He may not have the chance to enter the Yanhua Valley ruins in a short period of time. It would be safer to advance to another level and become a first-class genius. I believe that with how highly a first-grade genius is valued, his request should be taken seriously by the senior officials of Yuanmen. The three elders who presided over the assessment would never have thought that the reason for Han Yang's second roll call was actually that simple. As for Han Yang's true strength, after being reborn for the 9th time, the martial arts will he has condensed is so firm. If he wanted to, Han Yang could go straight to the location of the divine sword, hold the sword, or even draw the sword in his hand. All assessments of martial arts were nothing but rootless clouds in front of him. Xianxia Valley, the highest peak, 2 white-robed warriors, one old and one young, were playing chess on the stone platform. The two of them seemed to have never heard of the morning bells and evening drums singing from the assessment place. They have observed the Yuanmen martial arts competition many times and have seen countless geniuses, not to mention second grade. There are quite a few first-grade geniuses. When Yan Qingqing called the roll call, the two of them just nodded slightly. Junior brother Su, it seems that I am going to win this round. The old man is obviously an octogenarian, with chicken skin and gray hair, but he treats the young martial artist in front of him as his junior brother. It can be seen that the young man is very extraordinary in terms of martial arts cultivation. This young man's name is Su Ziren. 10 years ago, Wu Xian entered the Yuanmen. Now he has reached the 9th level of bone forging and is only one step away from gathering energy. He can be called another peerless genius after Chu Lan 20 years ago. Senior brother Feng is an expert at chess, and I am no match for you. Su Ziren didn't take it seriously and just surrendered. The old man surnamed Feng smiled, raised his eyebrows and asked, the Yan family's little girl has good qualifications, why don't you be tempted and accept an apprentice to train her before gathering her energy? Su Ziren laughed and said, if he is a first-class genius, I will accept him as a disciple. In the past 10 years, I will not accept 10 or 8. He didn't finish his words, but it was clear that he looked down on Yan Pianying, a 17-year-old first-level genius with a 3rd level of bone forging. The old man named Feng stroked his beard and smiled and stopped persuading. If a genius like Su Ziren doesn't want to become a disciple, the sect will not force him to do so. It's a pity that the Yan family's little girl doesn't have this opportunity. At this moment, another sound of morning bells and evening drums rang in my ears. Luo Cheng Han Yang, 18 years old, 2nd level bone forging, 7 steps into the 1,000 Leaves divine sword. Congratulations. That the two men froze at the same time as they collected their chess pieces. 2nd level of bone forging, 7 steps into the divine sword. Second roll call. This is something that has never happened in Yuanmen for hundreds of years. Unparalleled talent, the most talented person in martial arts in a century. For a moment, this idea arose in their minds at the same time. Senior brother Feng, I suddenly remembered that the Yan family's little girl is pretty good. It's worth going down the mountain to take a look. Junior brother Su, I am very restless and ready to go to the martial arts training place to join in the fun. The two of them said in unison, each giving themselves an excuse that was not an excuse. Silence. They looked at each other. The next moment, light flashed on both of them at the same time, and the strength of the peak bone forging burst out. Boom, the huge stone chessboard on the highest peak exploded, and the two figures disappeared. This peerless genius must be snatched up. 2nd level of bone forging, 7 steps into the Lashizi divine sword. This achievement should be of some importance. Han Yang swayed and left the radiation range of the Xianxia divine sword. The movement is not slow at all. Seeing his free and easy demeanor, the 3 examiners in front all twitched their faces. They always feel that this Han Yang is not trying his best. However, as soon as they thought about it, they were killed by themselves. Impossible. With the 2nd level of bone forging and 7 steps into the divine sword, he is already a 1st-level genius. 2 steps closer, and that's super quality. This Han Yang only had the 2nd level of bone forging at the age of 18. In any case, he should not be a super genius. The 3 examiners were giving themselves psychological explanations when they suddenly raised their heads and looked up at the sky. The sound of clothes breaking through the air reached my ears, whizzing. Then, 2 figures arrived one after another, within half a step of each other. Senior brother Feng, junior brother Su. When the 3 examiners saw the 2 appearing, they couldn't help but feel surprised, and they all stepped forward and bowed. Although the general realm is the same, the status of the three of them and Feng and Su are completely different. Both of these two were once direct disciples, but when they started, they were just core disciples. The old man named Feng and Su Ziren looked at each other, each sneered, and then asked in unison, "Which one is Han Yang and Luocheng?" That the old woman laughed dumbly. She really came for Han Yang. Also, with the talent Han Yang showed, it is not surprising that he alarmed the two great disciples. Even before the old woman could answer, the eyes of the old man named Feng and Su Ziren had already been cast on Han Yang. It's true. Compared to other candidates who were in a panic, Han Yang stood out from the crowd and was in a league of his own. It's hard not to be noticed. This person should only exist in heaven. Why did he fall to earth? The moment they saw Han Yang, the two of them couldn't help but have such thoughts in their hearts. Su Ziren was also a first-class genius, but he couldn't help but admire Han Yang's magnanimity. Ordinary warriors may not see Han Yang's unique temperament, but as a person of the same type, Su Ziren could sense a scornful demeanor from Han Yang, even though Han Yang was only at the second level of bone forging at this time. Both of you have only passed one of the 3 stages of the martial arts selection. Even if you want to choose a disciple, you have to follow the rules. Let's wait until the martial arts selection is over. Seeing the two people's eyes wishing to kidnap Han Yang directly, the old woman who spoke felt quite helpless. It seems, why can't it be my turn? Chapter 35. The more genius you are, the more you deserve to die. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 3 levels of martial arts selection. The old man named Feng and Su Ziren fell silent. If they choose disciples now, they may still have a few chances, but if they wait until the 3rd level of the martial arts selection is over, even the supreme elders at the Qi gathering level will be alarmed. This kind of talent may not be available to 2 of my own family. They were both a little annoyed because they had such great talent but could not take them under their wing. Soon, Han Yang's second morning bell and evening drum roll call spread the news throughout the Xianxia Valley. From today on, Han Yang will be famous in the 9 cities. The 2nd level of bone forging, the 7th step into the divine sword, and the 2nd roll call, caused huge waves in the Yuanmen martial arts competition. The 1st level of sword selection ended hastily. Many warriors were so severely hit by Han Yang's unparalleled achievements that they even lost the courage to resist the sword's will. In previous years, there were at least 5,000 places for the outer sect and 1,000 for the inner sect. This year, there were actually only 3,000 outer sect disciples and 500 inner sect disciples. Many warriors were affected and directly lost the election, but these people who were unsuccessful did not dare to feel any resentment towards Han Yang. The status between a first-class genius and them is like a natural chasm. From then on, immortals and mortals took different paths. If they dare to feel resentful, someone will definitely support Han Yang without even taking action. Ha, it's developed, it's going to be developed. Outside Tianqi Valley, Boss Fong was dancing like crazy, but at this time, no one laughed at him, but instead had eyes full of envy and jealousy. Before the martial arts election, the Fong family chamber of commerce often received cold looks from major forces in Taichung because of its close relationship with Han Yang. Han Yang offended the Li family, and the Fong family chamber of commerce actually still got close to Han Yang. In their view, it was extremely unwise, but who would have thought that in the first round of the Yuanmen martial arts competition, Han Yang would become a blockbuster and become a first-class genius. As long as Han Yang doesn't die, he will definitely enter the Qi gathering realm in the future. If the Fong family chamber of commerce chooses to join Han Yang in his final years without hesitation, he will surely rise to the top and prosper in the future, especially the other merchants in the caravan that came to Taichung with Han Yang and the Fong family felt regretful. The same opportunity was placed in front of them, but they failed to grasp it. He even secretly laughed at the Fong family boss. But now, they want to get close to Han Yang again, but they are no longer qualified. Many families in Luo City have equally complicated emotions. When Han Yang called the roll call for the first time, they could still discuss a few words. Now he didn't even dare to mention Han Yang's name. The first-class genius to come out of Luo City was the son-in-law of the Chen family, and was despised by all the people of Luo City. This makes many martial arts families in Luo City feel extremely embarrassed. Among them, the Lin family even had the urge to worship Supreme Elder Lin Wuyang. if Lin Wuyang hadn't resolved the grudges, the Lin family would have been in danger. As for the Chen family, who was short-sighted and missed the real dragon, it was inevitable that they would be mentioned again. Missing out on a first-class talent is really a big joke. I'm afraid that within 100 years, the Chen family's reputation for being ignorant will not be erased. The residents of the Li family in Taiching, Supreme Elder Li Shushan held the teacup in his hand and couldn't put it down for a long time. He didn't even notice that the tea had wet his clothes. The second level of bone forging, within 7 steps, a first-level genius. These 3 words echoed in Li Shushan's mind again and again. Somebody come. Li Shushan gave an order, and a man who looked like a butler bowed and saluted. Immediately arrange for people to deliver 30 elixirs to Elder Mo. Yes, deliver them now. Li Shushan ordered with a solemn expression. When the butler took the order and left in astonishment, the expression on his face suddenly became indifferent. Shadow kill. In the empty wooden house, Li Shushan slowly spoke. The next moment, a black shadow suddenly appeared at the window, as if he was originally there. Li Shushan's eyes were filled with bloodshot eyes, and his tone was cold. In the second level of the martial arts competition, Han Yang must be intercepted and killed. No matter the cost, he must be killed. If the housekeeper was still in the wooden house, he would be extremely surprised. The 2 completely opposite orders came from the hands of the Supreme Elder Li Shushan. Shadow Sha nodded silently and quietly disappeared into the night. Ah! Li Shushan fiercely poured half the cup of tea in his hand into his mouth. First there was Chen Yu, who was powerful in the 9 cities, and now Han Yang, who was a blockbuster, came out. What secrets does the Chen family hide? Taiching Test Center. The calm expression on Zhang Wuyou's face solidified when he heard the second roll call. A first-class genius. It seems that I have really found an incredible ally. There was a smile on Zhang Wuyou's lips, but his eyes were full of coldness. Li Dian, who had swallowed a healing potion and was recovering his strength, was dumbfounded and could not regain his senses for a long time. Third young master, you don't need to worry too much. Han Yang just succeeded once and for all. When he enters Yuanmen, he will definitely not be able to keep up with your promotion speed. That is, with the resources of our Li family, we can kill that little son-in-law. Several Li family warriors around him tried to persuade Li Dian, fearing that their genius would be attacked by Han Yang and fall into despair. Little did he know that their words were like steel needles piercing Li Dian's heart. The young tiger of the Li family is so proud and arrogant, in his opinion. These words of the Li family warrior were not persuasion, but humiliation. If the Li family really had full confidence in him, there would be no need for persuasion. Han Yang. Li Dian recited the name silently in his heart, his teeth clenching loudly. An hour later, the first level of the Yuanmen martial arts competition officially ended. All the disciples, under the leadership of the examiner, gathered in Xianxia Valley. That's Han Yang. He is indeed personable and outstanding. At the age of 18, he is only at the second level of bone forging, nothing more than that. Little Luo City can actually produce a first-class genius like Han Yang. Most of the eyes of more than 3,500 people were focused on Han Yang. There is praise and admiration, but mostly dissatisfaction. The second level of bone forging is not outstanding among many geniuses. It's just that I don't know how this kid became so famous that he entered within 7 steps of the Xianxia divine sword, which made many people feel angry and felt that Han Yang must have used some dishonorable means. Boom. There was a thunderous explosion. A figure suddenly appeared in front of the cliff in Xianxia Valley, another peak-level bone forging expert. All the candidates fell silent, feeling faintly excited. The second level of martial arts selection is open. Second level, demon selection. The voice of the examiner, who was at the peak of bone forging, was clearly transmitted to everyone's ears. In the first line of sky, there are a number of monsters arranged by the Yuan sect in advance. The first-order monsters are worth 1 point, the second-order monsters are worth 10 points, and the third-order monsters are worth 100 points. The time limit for this level is 3 days. If you score less than 50 points, you will be eliminated. If you score more than 50 points, you can participate in the third level. Outer sect disciples who score more than 100 points can be promoted to the inner sect, and inner sect disciples who score more than 1,000 points can be promoted to core disciples. In the demon selection, there is no limit to the means, and it doesn't matter life or death. I announce that the second level of the martial arts competition has officially begun. Chapter 36: The Arena of Geniuses. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The first level of the Yuanmen martial arts competition tests the martial arts will. In the second level, actual combat ability is assessed, but the assessment task arranged by Yuanmen is an almost impossible task. Most of the outer disciples are in the body tempering realm, so it may be a little difficult to kill first-order monsters, as the first level of assessment. The first and second level disciples of bone forging, who have become the disciples of the inner sect, may even risk their lives if they want to fight third-level monsters or gain 1,000 points. At this level, those who can advance are mostly bone-forging warriors who have weak martial arts will in the first level and fall into the outer sect, and those level geniuses who have entered within 1 or 20 steps of Xianxia divine sword. To put it bluntly, this second level is a killing field for geniuses. They are each other's competitors. Especially those second and third level bone-forging people who failed to be called out in the morning bell and evening drum roll call in the first stage. They all looked at the 7 people who were called out with dissatisfaction and annoyance. Among these 7 people, the ones who received the most attention were naturally Yan Pianting, Han Yang and Zhang Wuyou. Yan Pianting, 17 years old, has the third level of bone forging and has entered the 7th step of the 1,000-leaf divine sword. Han Yang, 18 years old, second level bone forging, 7 steps into the 1,000-leaf divine sword. Zhang Wuyou, 17 years old, has the third level of bone forging and is 10 steps into the 1,000-leaf divine sword. Each one of them can be regarded as a proud person of heaven, and they are also the ones who have the best chance of getting 1,000 points and being promoted to core disciples. When Han Yang took a step forward, a beast-like gaze shot onto his body. It was Li Dian, one of the 7 geniuses. At this time, Li Dian wanted to eat Han Yang alive. In his opinion, if he hadn't been careless at the city gate and was repelled by Han Yang, his martial arts heart would not have been damaged and he would have become the last of the 7 geniuses. If it were not for Han Yang, Li Diansai should be ranked alongside Yan Pianting and Zhang Wuyou. Your name is Han Yang. Why can you advance to the 7th step of Excalibur? Han Yang ignored Li Dian's eager gaze, closed his eyes to rest, and began to wait patiently for the second round of the martial arts competition to begin. However, the next moment, a Drake voice in the process of changing his voice came to his ears. Looking back, it was Zhang Wuyou. He is suave and has the appearance of a handsome young man, but unfortunately his voice is slightly unpleasant, which completely ruins his demeanor. There was no questioning in this sentence, but it was a bit ridiculous, seeing the smile gradually rising from the corners of Han Yang's lips. Zhang Wuyou immediately became annoyed and snorted, "Just wait, I will definitely crush you in this second level." Han Yang looked at him with interest, but he didn't expect that this 17-year-old genius was still an arrogant boy. "Are you sure you are 17 years old?" Han Yang asked with a smile. Zhang Wuyou was obviously taken aback, not quite understanding what Han Yang meant by this. At this moment, the sky opened, and the martial arts candidates began to enter the valley. Han Yang stepped forward without any explanation. When Han Yang's back disappeared, Zhang Wuyou, who was stunned at the scene, realized that the other party was laughing at himself for being too immature. He suddenly shouted in annoyance, "Han Yang, you wait for me, I can't spare you." But Han Yang had already entered the sky, and he didn't know if he heard his threatening voice. Zhang Wuyou became more and more annoyed, and rushed into Xianxia cursing, obviously following Han Yang. "Master." Several martial artists from the Li family who had passed the first test approached Li Dian and whispered, "Zhang Wuyou seems to be unconvinced by Han Yang. Maybe we can take advantage of it." Li Dian nodded noncommittally and said gloomily, "Follow me and act as you see fit." Everyone who was familiar with Li Dian felt the undisguised murderous intent in him. This assessment is destined to be unstable. A few hundred feet along the line of sky, the land becomes wider and seems to be a gourd-shaped valley. Those candidates who entered early had already disappeared into the dense forest. Yuanmen arranged for ordinary candidates to enter first, also thinking that it could give them some advantages to avoid losing too embarrassingly in front of geniuses. Although there are no eliminations in the second level, if you only have a few points, you will definitely be embarrassed in front of more than 3,000 people. Ouch! Not long after he stepped into the first line of sky, Han Yang heard the roar of monsters and the sound of fighting. Obviously, there are warriors fighting with monsters. There are many monks and few rice porridge in the outer areas. It seems that we need to go deeper into the canyon. He did not linger near the entrance, but swayed and quickened his pace. The roaring monster just now was obviously only a first-order monster. The hierarchy of monsters is strict, and high-level monsters will never allow low-level monsters to wander in their territory. Obviously, if there is a first-level monster here, there cannot be other high-level monsters. For Han Yang, the attraction was very ordinary. Half an hour later, Han Yang, who was moving forward, slowly stopped. Ahead, there was a faint suffocating pressure, which made him feel a hint of crisis. Third-level monster. Only third-level monsters possess such a terrifying aura. Yuanmen martial arts selection. As long as you have points and don't mention the inner elixir, maybe I can hunt monsters and devour the inner elixir, so that I can practice martial arts and practice at the same time. Han Yang, who had a thought in his mind, flew past the terrifying aura without any hesitation. Squeak! Just after he took 2 steps, a sharp scream sounded, with a sharp chill that pierced his neck. So fast, Han Yang frowned, stepped forward with his left foot, twisted his body at an incredible angle, and narrowly avoided the fatal blow. A dark shadow flashed and disappeared into the woods. Monkey! Han Yang found out that the one who attacked him was actually a monkey, and he couldn't help but feel shocked. It is normal for ferocious beasts like ligers, tigers, wolves and leopards to become third-level monsters, because they have hunting instincts and are powerful monster killers. It's a bit scary that a monkey with little attack power can become a third-level monster. It is definitely a third-level monster that is more terrifying than the Overlord Lion. Han Yang gradually felt a wave of excitement in his heart, and he became more cautious and continued to move forward, and his right hand had already quietly grasped the handle of Tianke Dao. Squeak! There was another shrill roar. The monkey whose territory was invaded could not hold back and launched another attack. The moment the black shadow appeared again, the sword light lit up. Han Yang waved his arm, and the Tianke's sword was unsheathed with a clang, like a thunderbolt spreading through the woods. Puff! Just when the sharp blade was about to strike the monkey suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in front of Han Yang, with his sharp claws heading straight for his neck. Is it the phantom monkey? This is an ape-like monster known for its speed and avatars, and its attack methods are quite strange. An ordinary 6th-level bone-forging realm warrior might fall into the trap if he is not careful. Only, Han Yang was reborn as the 9th generation. He was the god of war in his previous life and had rich combat experience. The moment the phantom monkey appeared, his left hand was already drawn out like a whip. On the whip shadow, the power of the stars shines brightly. Cloud Explorer, boom. The phantom monkey's neck was actually held in Han Yang's hand. Zheng. The sword flashed past, a monkey head flew high, and blood spurted out wildly. Third-level monster, die. At the beginning, when Zhang Tishuan's team was almost crippled by the late second-order monsters, Han Yang was forced to consume blood essence. Now, it takes less than 10 days. Han Yang single-handedly used the Tianke's sword to easily kill the third-level monster. The rapid improvement in strength can be described as unprecedented and shocking. Outside the Xianxia Valley, Han Yang's name slowly appeared on a huge stone monument. Han Yang, it took 3/4 of an hour to hunt down the third-level monster. He is currently ranked 5th. Chapter 37. Han Yang is in danger. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Good, that when Boss Fong saw this name, he couldn't hide his excitement and cheered. Previously, the names of several other geniuses had appeared on the stone tablet, but the word Han Yang had not yet appeared. This inevitably makes Boss Fong a little worried. Now, Han Yang's name appeared, and he was hunting third-level monsters, ranking 5th all of a sudden, so Boss Fong finally breathed a sigh of relief. This Han Yang can actually hunt down third-level monsters. Isn't he just at the 2nd level of bone forging? How can he have such combat power? The people watching outside Xianxia Valley also made sounds of surprise. The 1st level of the martial arts competition has proved that Han Yang has amazing talent, but after all, talent is just talent and does not represent strength. At the 2nd level of bone forging, many geniuses may be able to deal with second-level monsters, but killing a third-level monster is very difficult, but to everyone's surprise, Han Yang completed the feat of hunting down a third-level monster in less than an hour, which was quite astonishing. TCH, what's all the fuss about? Don't forget, Han Yang had a solid record of killing a 6th-level bone forging player with 3 punches when he was at the first level of bone forging. A junior from the Lin family spoke in a disdainful tone, the pride in his expression could not be concealed. Han Yang was born in Luo City after all. With Han Yang, after this martial arts election, maybe Yuanmen's treatment of Luo City's resources will be greatly improved, and they can take part of it. All Luo City warriors, as long as they have no grudges, are naturally happy to make Han Yang famous. Kill the 6th level of bone forging with 3 punches? Is it still the time for the first level of bone forging? Among the Yuan men, those strong men who have mastered the artistic conception of martial arts can't achieve such a record, right? He is truly a genius. Some warriors from the other 8 cities were really shocked by the fierce achievements they heard, the first level of bone forging, the 6th level of counterattack, and now the 2nd level of bone forging, killing 3rd-level monsters, seems normal. However, there are still many warriors who feel extremely sad. This Han Yang is just talented, but his actual combat ability is so unexpected that it makes people even jealous. Behind the crowd, the face of Li Shushan, the elder of the Li family, changed slightly. I didn't expect that this kid would have such fierce fighting power, but it doesn't matter. Shadow Killer's attack should be foolproof. The better Han Yang performed, the more determined Li Shushan was in hunting Han Yang. The Li family has taken away a wife, and the hatred cannot be resolved. This boy must not be allowed to grow up. In the Skyline Canyon, Li Dian looked at the sparrows circling in the sky and whistled. The next moment, the sparrow leaned down and chirped on Li Dian's arm. He took out a piece of paper from the chaffin chanclet. When Han Yang was at the first level of bone forging, did he kill the 6th level of bone forging? Li Dian's fingers clenched the note with veins popping out. How is this possible? This was something he had never even thought about. 1 level of bone forging is just a hammer forging a bone, and even the weakest 6th level of bone forging has 32 bones. The gap of more than 30 bones cannot be made up by any talent, skills, or martial arts artistic conception. How could this bastard Han Yang be so strong and perverted? Don't worry, young master, Han Yang, he will die this time. Next to Li Dian, there was a man wearing a bamboo hat and a black robe, and he said in a hoarse voice. Hearing the latter's voice, Li Dian frowned subconsciously, then nodded silently. Shadow Kill. The most special being of the Li family possesses the 4th level of bone forging at a young age, and has a strong record of assassinating the 7th level of bone forging. In terms of early talent, he is not weaker than Li Dian at all. Of course, the skills that Shadow Sha cultivates are at the expense of his future. In this life, he will only stop at the late stage of bone forging. Otherwise, the name of Shadow Killer would have already become famous in the 9 cities of Yuanmen. Walk. Just as the Li family sneaked into the depths of the forest and disappeared, another figure slowly appeared on a big tree more than 10 feet away. Xianxia actually pretended to be someone else and entered Xianxia. This news must be informed to the 3rd young master as soon as possible. As the voice fell, the figure also disappeared in a flash, as if it had never appeared before. Asshole! Where did that boy named Han hide? Zhang Wuyou broke a big tree angrily, his chest heaving violently. The fellow Zhang family warriors looked at each other, quite helpless. My young master refused to participate in the martial arts competition and has been tracking Han Yang. So far, he has not killed a single monster, leaving them, who are also candidates, speechless. Okay, don't follow me, so as not to delay the martial arts selection. I can't find him in the outer stage. Is this kid, maybe he has gone deep. Zhang Wuyou muttered something to himself, then suddenly increased his speed and rushed into the depths of the dense forest. These Zhang family warriors tried to catch up, but they obviously couldn't keep up. With their strength, Zhang Wuyou ran like crazy and couldn't catch up. Young man named Han, don't let me find you. Zhang Wuyou walked through the woods at high speed with the wind whistling in his ears. Even when he encountered a monster, he did not stop and was focused on catching Han Yang out. Call. Suddenly, his wind-like figure suddenly stopped. What's going on up front? Sensing that at least several warriors were gathering together, Zhang Wuyou followed them quietly with a thought in mind. The 4 warriors are all in the bone forging realm, and they are all at the 2nd or even 3rd level of bone forging. This surprised Zhang Wuyou. What do these guys want to do? The leader seems to be a young tiger from the Li family in Taichung. The figure swept up a tall ancient tree. Zhang Wuyou stood among the branches and finally saw the scene in front of him clearly through the gap. Those Taichung warriors wanted to ambush someone, Han Yang. At this time, Han Yang was fighting with a 3rd-level demon wolf. With Zhang Wuyou's eyesight, Han Yang could tell that Han Yang was very powerful and had killed the 3rd-level monsters until they were wailing. Ha! If you dare to question my age, let's see how you die this time. Zhang Wuyou decided not to intervene for the time being. When Han Yang was defeated and about to be killed, he appeared as a savior again and saved the opponent's life with one move. When the time comes, we'll have to see if that kid still dares to ridicule himself. The moment Zhang Wuyou had just thought about it, a sudden change occurred, whizzing. 2 blasts of sound pierced through the air, piercing Han Yang. At the same time, 3 2nd-level bone-forging warriors also held weapons and headed straight for Han Yang's vital point, assassination. How vicious! Seeing that the Li family actually used crossbows, Zhang Wuyou couldn't help but want to take action, but at this moment, the unused sword that had been hanging on Han Yang's waist suddenly came out of its sheath, Zhanglang. The sound of swords resounded through the sky, the sharp sword light pierced the sky, the crossbow arrows, the 2nd-level bone-forging warrior, and the 3rd-level monster were all chopped into 2 pieces by this stunning sword. Good sword skills. Zhang Wuyou couldn't help but exclaimed. This sword had almost reached the peak of his sword skills. It was only 1 step away from the derivation of the sword's intention. It could be said to be unparalleled in power. Unexpectedly, Han Yang only has the 2nd level of bone forging, but his combat power has reached such an extent. At the moment Zhang Wuyou exclaimed, a figure appeared like a ghost from the shadow of the monster. The slender dagger in his hand stabbed Han Yang straight into the heart. The timing and angle are simply perfect. It was the critical moment when Han Yang slashed with his sword. New power had not yet been generated, and the old power was about to be exhausted. 4th level of bone forging. And, sword intent. How could such a warrior appear? Zhang Wuyou covered his lips with his right hand, and even he almost screamed in shock. In the Yuanmen martial arts competition, a 4th-level bone-forging warrior actually appeared. This was definitely beyond his expectation. Moreover, the swordsmanship of the 4th-level bone-forging warrior was almost comparable to that of the 6th-level bone-forging warrior. The other party is an assassin who walks in the darkness and is born to kill. Han Yang, it's dangerous. Chapter 38 Monster Han Yang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Did you finally take action? Han Yang, who had already sensed everything, sneered in his heart. The Li family really thinks of themselves as fools. It was obvious that at the city gate 2 days ago, he could defeat the Li family tiger cub with one punch. Now, can I still let myself believe that the Li family just sent a few idiots with the 1st and 2nd levels of bone forging to assassinate me? The real killing move must be hidden in the dark. The moment the sword thrust out from under the shadow of the hidden monster, Han Yang reacted early. The power of the stars condensed in the 9 turns of stars technique instantly circulated throughout his body, and his right arm was stretched back at an incredible angle. The 4 elephants curse and seal the sword, and the white tiger kills. Boom boom. The roar of a fierce tiger resounded in the woods, and countless bloody sword lights bloomed in front of Shadow Kill in an instant. Puff puff, White Tiger Kill's cold sword light burst out, and Shadow Kill's approaching body was torn into pieces as if it had fallen into a trap. Phantom. The touch from the blade made Han Yang understand that his White Tiger Kill had failed. This killer, indeed, has 2 brushes. At this moment, an inaudible sword whistle sounded again. This sword was still directed at Han Yang's neck at an extremely sinister angle. Really, the sword never leaves the vital point. There is an intention to never give up until he is assassinated. Snort. For Symbol's cursed seal knife. Xuanwu Town. Han Yang snorted coldly, and the power of the stars in his body completely exploded. The Tian Ke sword crushed Ing Sha with incredible pressure. like Mount Tai pressing down on top. Xianxia's strange figure froze for a moment, and then quickly retreated. Han Yang also felt a cold feeling on his neck and knew there was blood flowing down without touching it with his hands. The skin on his neck was actually cut open by the sword energy, leaving him just a hair short of being able to seal his throat with a sword. This man can be called the strongest opponent Han Yang has encountered after his 9 rebirths. It's clearly a human being, but it has some of the abilities of the phantom monkey. It's interesting. The wounds on his body not only did not scare Han Yang, but instead aroused his inner fighting spirit, the god of war in his previous life. The more he fought, the stronger he became. Why be afraid of a minor injury? The next moment, light burst out in Han Yang's eyes. Xianxia retreated, his pale face hidden in the light and shadow, and the slender broken sword in his hand had no luster. It was obviously suitable for assassination. He looked at the other party indifferently, but there was a faint fear in his eyes. Since his debut, no enemy has ever been able to let him use his 3rd sword. Even the 7th level bone forging expert died under the 2nd sword, and Han Yang, a 2nd level bone forger, not only avoided the 2nd sword, but also sealed his 3rd sword, so that he didn't even have the chance to use the 3rd sword that was sure to kill. You are from the Li family. Where is that loser Li Dian? Han Yang shook off the blood drops on the blade, and there seemed to be light shining in his eyes. Han Yang, you are really capable. You were able to avoid Shadow Kill's sword. But that's all. A few dozen feet away, Li Dian walked out from behind an ancient giant tree. As a young tiger, a genius of the Li family, his pride prevented him from hiding in the dark any longer. Li Dian's appearance made Xianxia frown, but he remained silent as his figure gradually disappeared into the shade of the trees. Han Yang smiled and shook his head. Actually, I have spared your life. Unfortunately, you don't know how to cherish your hard-won life. You are still talking nonsense when you are about to die, which makes people laugh out loud. Li Dian naturally didn't believe what Han Yang said, and even felt that Han Yang was deliberately provoking him. Of course he didn't know that if Elder Mo hadn't appeared at the city gate a few days ago, he would have become the ghost under Han Yang's sword. Drawing a halberd from his back, Li Dian said coldly, as the price for your nonsense, I will beat your mouth to bits. In Li Dian's opinion, he and Han Yang were equally powerful. In addition, there was a shadow killer who had assassinated the 7th level bone forging person watching from the side, which inadvertently increased the pressure on the opponent, so Han Yang would definitely die in this battle. Ah! Han Yang chuckled disdainfully, and moved his figure. Faced with the pressure of the 2 powerful men, he still took the lead. Arrogant, Li Dian was furious and slashed at Han Yang with the halberd in his hand. The violent sound of breaking through the air had the power of the 4th or 5th level of bone forging. Li Dian, known as the young tiger of the Li family, was named after the tiger, and his martial arts was also very powerful and domineering. With just this halberd, he has a combat power that is not weaker than that of Yi Bufan. Moreover, Li Dian's body was full of fighting spirit, and his martial arts artistic conception was stronger than Ximen Sheng's. This is the difference between geniuses and ordinary warriors. The end of Ximen Sheng's 7-year struggle and life-and-death struggle was just the starting point for Li Dian. Well done, let's see if you can avoid my white tiger attack. Han Yang stepped forward, his blade as sharp as frost. The 4 elephants cursed the sword, and the white tiger killed him. This sword moved forward without hesitation, completely ignoring the shadow of Xia who was watching from the side. At the moment Han Yang drew his sword, Xia's slender sword, like a poisonous scorpion's tail, reached towards Han Yang's neck. Facing Xia's killing swordsmanship, Han Yang did not dodge or dodge, but still advanced with his sword, full of indomitable momentum. Huh? How is that possible? Only when he actually faced the white tiger killing did Li Dian understand the horror of this sword. The white tiger roars and the fishy wind blows out. His boiling fighting spirit was suppressed by the ferocious white tiger. Can't bear it, can't hide either. Only then did Li Dian realize that he was a level higher than Han Yang, but in front of him, he was just a joke. He couldn't take this knife at all. There was a hint of panic in his eyes. Li Dian was obviously thinking of turning back to defend, but it was already too late. He could only watch helplessly as the blade struck his face on the side. The light in Xia's gray eyes flashed, and he was determined to win the sword. He had to turn around and block Han Yang's blade before it fell, protecting Li Dian, he never thought that Han Yang would use the strategy of dying together and want to trade lives with Li Dian. Although he could kill Han Yang with one sword, Li Dian would definitely die. No. If this talented disciple of the Li family died in front of him, how could he go back and explain to Li Shushan? Boom! The shadow of his sword blocked the light of Bai Hush's sword, but, at the next moment, Xianxia suddenly felt that the opponent's figure had disappeared. When he reappeared, he felt his neck suddenly tightened, and he was killed by a big iron pliers-like hand. Hold on tightly, Cloud Explorer. You fell into a trap. A cold voice sounded in Xianxia's ears. The next moment, the sword flashed, and Xianxia's head flew high. This top killer with the Phantom Monkey ability died in the same way as the Phantom Monkey. It wasn't until the moment before death that Xianxia realized that he had been fooled. Han Yang's target was never Li Dian. He was planning on his own from the beginning. A killer can only kill people. How can he save people? If you care about him, he will no longer be scary. Letting go of his hand, Han Yang allowed Xianxia's body to fall. You and I. Li Dian, who was horrified, was also completely stunned by the scene in front of him. When he didn't intervene, Shadow Kill could suppress Han Yang, hurt Han Yang's neck, and almost cut his throat, but now that he has a helper with the 5th and 6th level of bone-forging combat power, the end result is, he was killed by Han Yang after being involved in the shadow killing. Instead, he became a flaw that was exploited by Han Yang and killed Xianxia. Didn't I tell you before that you don't know how to cherish it? In this case, I will accept your life. Han Yang, who spoke calmly, swung his sword again and went straight to Li Dian. You dare to kill me? Li Dian's eyes were about to burst and he roared angrily. He smashed the halberd at Han Yang amidst the roar of tigers. Bang! The stars twinkle. The halberd, which was obviously made of fine iron, was cut off by the Tianke sword under the infusion of the power of the stars. Also broken was Li Dian's body. His upper body shook, his eyes filled with disbelief. It seemed that he couldn't believe that Han Yang actually dared to kill him, a genius of the Li family. If you want to hate me, just hate Zhang Wuyou. Without the help of the Zhang family's elixir, I might not be able to advance to the 2nd level of bone forging so quickly. If so, I might be killed by that assassin of yours. Regardless of whether he heard it or not, Han Yang slowly put away his knife and looked at the big tree dozens of feet away. Misunderstanding. I'm just trying to make a point. No, there's no malice. Zhang Ziyu, who was hidden in the canopy of the tree, said something sarcastic, and then jumped down. This Han Yang is really a monster. He can actually kill even the demon warrior. Chapter 39 Han Yang, I will kill you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Looking at Li Dian's headless body, Zhang Ziyu's face twitched. Regardless of talent, he is a first-grade genius, while Li Dian is a second-grade genius. But Li Dian is 1 year older after all, and his current combat effectiveness is stronger than him. But now, Li Dian, who was known as the young tiger of the Li family, was killed by Han Yang, who only had the 2nd level of bone forging. Like slaughtering chickens and dogs, Zhang Ziyu was amazed by this fierce fighting power. Han Yang raised his knife and asked with a smile, "Are you interested in hunting monsters with me?" Zhang Ziyu was stunned on the spot. Why didn't Han Yang play his cards according to the routine? If he found out that he killed the Li family tiger cub, shouldn't he be killed and silenced? Why did you actually invite yourself to hunt monsters together? After all, he is a first-class genius. He doesn't even have the courage to hunt monsters, right? Han Yang glanced at Zhang Ziyu with a half-smile. Zhang Ziyu's face turned red immediately. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? I don't even bother to join forces with others. Han Yang didn't take it seriously and walked deep into the woods. As he walked, he said, "This is the lair of the greedy moon demon wolf. If we can succeed in one attack, the 2nd level of the assessment can basically end early. Wolves are social animals, even if they become a 3rd level monster." After Zhang Ziyu saw the demon wolf that was killed by Han Yang, he also guessed that there must be a wolf nest around. Only, what kind of thinking did Han Yang have that he could kill the genius of the Li family and still be so indifferent and not take it seriously at all? Aren't you afraid of the Li family's revenge? Zhang Ziyu felt that he could not understand this guy's style of dealing with things at all. Of course Han Yang didn't take the deaths of Li Dian and others seriously. From the time Li Yingxiang married Xianxia, the grievances between him and the Li family could only be washed away with blood. The two of them disappeared into the dense forest one after the other. After half a stick of incense, a figure appeared in the shadows under the trees. It's scary. Han Yang actually has such fighting power. The candidate from the Zhang family informed Zhang Wuyou of the news, and then followed Han Yang all the way, but he didn't expect to witness such a horrific scene with his own eyes. The famous Li family secret guarding Xia and Li family cub Li Dian were actually killed by Han Yang. Whether it's the second level of bone forging or the sixth level of bone forging, if you want to kill these two people, you can't do it as easily as Han Yang. A monster, definitely a monster. My father-in-law is extremely handsome, but my son-in-law is also so talented. In this martial arts test, Han Yang will definitely make a splash. The candidates from the Zhang family turned around and no longer dared to follow Han Yang. He fears, scared to death, if he continues to follow him, if he is discovered by Han Yang, he may not even have a chance to explain, and he will be killed. Han Yang's knife is too fast. Before leaving, the candidate from the Zhang family sighed inwardly as he glanced at Li Dian's headless body from the corner of his eye. The young tiger of the Li family, who was destined to be prominent in the 9 cities and even powerful in the Yuan sect in the future, unexpectedly ended up like this. It can only be said that it is his tragedy to be in the same era as Han Yang, outside Xianxia Valley. On the stone tablet, Han Yang's name flashed again. Han Yang, he hunted down the third-level monster in 3 hours and 2 quarters, with a total score of 350 points, ranking 10th. This change did not cause any waves, because many candidates performed better than Han Yang. In addition to the 7 geniuses, there are many people who were not named in the first level, but have repeatedly achieved high scores in this level. It's a pity. If Mr. Han had the help of his family, he would definitely be able to win 1,000 points and be promoted to a core disciple. Now, I'm afraid he can only stop here. Boss Fong sighed when he saw Han Yang's results. There are actually many unfair aspects in this second level of the martial arts exam. For example, Li Dian's Li family, Zhang Wuyou's Zhang family, and Zhang Ziyu's Zhang family are top big families. Each family has multiple candidates who have passed the first level of assessment. In this way, these people will work together to kill the monsters and help the geniuses in the family achieve more dazzling results. This is why, based on Han Yang's combat effectiveness, he is only ranked 10th. He is alone, competing with those families. Moreover, the number of third-level monsters in the sky is limited, and the competition will only become more and more fierce. It will become more difficult for Han Yang to hunt down the third-level monsters alone. His score may eventually stop at 600 to 700%. This is the sorrow of casual cultivators. Boss Fong was aggrieved and felt that the assessment items set by Yuan men had huge loopholes and were really unfair. It's a pity that he is just a small person and he doesn't dare to disobey the Yuan men's will, let alone question the Yuan men. Ha ha ha. My Yi family in Shuechen, Yi Nantian, has a score of 678, ranking 5th, beating 3 roll call geniuses. Some people are worried, and some people are happy. This Yi Nantian is very lucky, ranking only behind Yan Pianing, Shirlei, Yan Shan, and Zhang Wuyou, with outstanding achievements. Not surprisingly, within 5 hours at most, he might be able to complete the assessment ahead of schedule and be promoted to a core disciple. A group of people around were greeting and congratulating each other, and it was very lively. Compared with these people, the faces of the Li family headed by Li Shushan were a bit unsightly. Li Dian only had 58 points at this time, and was at the bottom among the geniuses, which made the Li family lose face. Li Shushan was calm and didn't take it seriously, because he knew very well that at this time, Li Dian should be joining forces with Shadow Killer to surround and kill Han Yang. Temporary backwardness is nothing. However, just as he was thinking of this, Li Dian's name on the stone tablet instantly turned blood red, and then dimmed. Li Dian, with a total score of 58 points, died. 11 big scarlet characters were like sharp arrows, pierced into the hearts of everyone in the Li family. Impossible. How could Xiaodian die? Li Shushan's expression changed drastically. He crushed the 1 walnut in his hand with a bang, and veins popped up on his forehead. Second master, not only Master Dian, but also others. The Li family warrior's voice trembled and he could hardly speak. Only then did Li Shushan discover that not only did Li Dian fall, but also his name became famous on the stone tablet. Along with him, many of his own children are famous, including Li Hao. That when he saw one of the names, Li Shushan staggered back, his face turned pale, and he felt even more unbelievable than when he saw Li Dian's death, because only he knows that Li Hao is the pseudonym of Xianxia. He was a 4th-level bone-forging practitioner, but had impressive achievements in assassinating the 7th-level bone-forging, and yet he also fell. Impossible, how can this be? Han Yang. In an instant, Li Shushan roared like a wild beast, with a terrifying momentum that even knocked all the Li family warriors around him to the ground. I will kill you. There is no doubt that this is a good thing Han Yang did. The cubs of the Li family and their close secret guards both died in the hands of Han Yang. This made Li Shushan want to eat Han Yang's flesh and blood raw. The anger in his heart was beyond words. Li Dian is dead. The Li family tiger cub actually died in the martial arts competition. This is. The major families in Taichung were also shocked by this bad news. Li Dian was the only second-grade genius among the younger generation in Taichung who was on par with Zhang Wuyou. Now, he actually died in the second level of the martial arts competition, the demon selection, which was beyond everyone's expectations. Interesting. Li Dian had a conflict with Han Yang before the martial arts competition. Could it be? I also heard that someone in the Li family wanted to forcefully marry someone else's fiancée, and now I'm afraid he's going to get retribution. Enter the dragon. The Li family has stepped on an iron plate this time. Let's just have fun. After being shocked, all the major families in Taichung began to rejoice in each other's misfortune. Chapter 48 Blockbuster. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In previous martial arts competitions, it was not that no candidates failed, but a second-grade genius like Li Dian, who was known to play drums in the evening and call in the morning, fell into the demon selection, and he was still the first person. Therefore, all the major families outside Xianxia Valley were greatly shaken, and even the Yuanmen elders and examiners made waves. What happened? Li Dian died. It shouldn't be. Are those guys in the law enforcement hall fools? They actually watched the fall of a second-grade genius. A second-grade genius is a strong reserve for a sect. The examiners were puzzled. At this time, 3 examiners from Luo City were looking through Han Yang's information. The middle-aged man urged several times, and the information about Han Yang was finally delivered to them. Chen's son-in-law. Chen Yu's bastard son-in-law. Take your fiancé away for 7 days, then fight back to the Chen family and kill the 3 elders. A month ago, were you just a body-tempering warrior? The more the 3 examiners looked at Han Yang's information, the more incredible they became. In 1 month, from cultivating in the body-tempering realm to the second level of bone forging, this is not a first-level genius. He is clearly an earth-level genius. It is not an exaggeration to even call him a heaven-level genius. Among the Yuan men, Li Xuanyu, the most talented wine swordsman, is nothing more than that. This Han Yang is not inferior to Li Xuanyu at all. Do you think Li Dian died in the hands of Han Yang? The grudge between the Li family and Han Yang. The old woman raised her eyebrows slightly and said in a hoarse voice. Junior sister Shui, are you still paying attention to these little things? This Han Yang is suspected of being a heaven-level genius. The old man took several deep breaths in succession, trying to calm his excited heart that was about to beat. He could even imagine the uproar that would result if Han Yang's information was known to the sect. In 1 month, he was promoted to the second level of bone forging. Such talents are among the top 10 in the Yuan sect's founding history. Senior brother Du, I advise you not to be so excited, and don't forget Li Xuanyu's lessons. It's better to be cautious. The middle-aged man seemed calmer, but the fingers holding the information were trembling uncontrollably. Upon hearing the words Li Xuanyu, the old man and the old woman fell silent. Li Xuanyu, the wine and sword immortal, was the first genius in the sect and a former heaven-level genius. He was once given great expectations by Yuan men. Unfortunately, Li Xuanyu failed to attack and gather energy in the end, and was stuck at the peak of bone forging, unable to break through, I don't know how. Many people sighed, if Han Yang is like this, it will be the Yuanman's greatest misfortune. Informed the sect master, we can't make the decision on this kind of thing. Han Yang, you actually entered the second level of bone forging in 1 month. Su Ziren looked at the information in his hand with shock on his face. I thought that because Han Yang was born in Luo City, his cultivation was delayed by resources, so he was only at the second level of bone forging until now. Unexpectedly, there were so many hidden secrets in it. The old man surnamed Feng chuckled and said, this is interesting. Chen Yu's son-in-law has entered my Yuan sect, ha ha ha. I am looking forward to the faces of those in the sect. Su Ziren smiled bitterly and shook his head, feeling sorry for Han Yang. If it were any other person, Han Yang would definitely be snatched up by the old monsters in the sect with his seemingly heaven-level qualifications, and he would definitely become a direct disciple. Unfortunately, Han Yang is Chen Yu's son-in-law. When Chen Yu became famous, he came to challenge and overturned many old monsters in the sect. These people are far from generous. After Han Yang entered the sect as Chen Yu's son-in-law, he was bound to have various twists and turns. After knowing his true identity, Su Ziren also gave up the idea of accepting Han Yang as his disciple. Chen Yu has offended too many people in the Yuan sect, and with his peak bone forging strength, he simply cannot protect them. Little guy, you'd better wish for yourself. Han Yang, who stood side by side with Zhang Wuyou, had no idea that he was about to fall into another big pit left by his father-in-law. 7 moon-greedy demon wolves, 4 of me and 3 of you, is that okay? Looking at the monsters appearing in the distance, Han Yang's eyes were full of boiling fighting spirit. It's rare that a third-level monster comes to your doorstep. If you go to the monster forest to search for it, you may not encounter a third-level monster for 10 days and a half. God and God cannot take it, but they are to blame. He accepted these 4 third-level demon pills with a smile. Zhang Wuyou glared at Han Yang fiercely, are you kidding me? I'm 2, you're 5. He is at the 3rd level of bone forging, not the 7th level. Single-handedly, he could barely deal with a 3rd-level monster, but he also strangled 3 of them at once. Does this guy think everyone is as perverted as he is? To maintain face and deal with 2 of them, you may need to activate the secret technique. Zhang Wuyou felt that it was a mistake for her to join forces with Han Yang, a monster. Okay then, let's go. Han Yang nodded nonchalantly and went to kill him with a knife. Zhang Wuyou wanted to cry but didn't have any tears. Damn you bastard, didn't you discuss the ambush plan with yourself? Ouch. The roar of the moon-greedy wolf was heard, and Zhang Wuyou could only bite the bullet and rush out together, outside Tianqi Valley. Han Yang, it took 4 hours to hunt down the 3rd-level monster, with a total score of 450 points, ranking 10th. Han Yang, it took 4 hours to hunt down the 3rd-level monster, with a total score of 550 points, ranking 9th. Han Yang, it took 4 hours to hunt down the 3rd-level monster, with a total score of 850 points, ranking 3rd. In almost a few breaths, Han Yang's name appeared 5 times in a row, jumped directly from 10th to 3rd. Everyone in the major families was shocked. What's going on? How could Han Yang kill so many monsters? 5. Kill 5 third-level monsters at once. It's really just a matter of silence. It's a blockbuster. That everyone was stunned by Han Yang's fierce performance, but some people sneered and said, Han Yang can never have such combat power alone. He must have joined forces with others. But that's not important at all. Everyone in the big family knows very well that among the top 10 geniuses in points, how many are working alone. Zhang Wuyou, Grey City. Zhang Wuyou's name also jumped twice. The 2 of them have joined forces. Things are becoming more and more confusing. Han Yang, Zhang Wuyou, these 2 incomparable people would actually join forces in the martial arts competition. Not to mention that people from other families couldn't understand. Even the elders of the Zhang family were confused. If I remember correctly, when the demon selection started, Zhang Wuyou was still aggressive and ready to settle accounts with Han Yang. Are they actually joining forces now? However, the noisy crowd soon became even more excited, because a line of eye-catching gold characters appeared on the stone tablet. Huaqing Yanqing, with a total score of 1098, ranked first, and completed the assessment ahead of schedule. It took 4 hours, but there was silence, among the tens of thousands of people from various major families outside Tiancha Valley. No one could make a sound. The second-level assessment only lasted 4 hours, and someone had already completed the assessment. Yan Pianqing is indeed a first-class genius who entered the 7th step of the Thousand Leaves Divine Sword at the age of 17. Taiqing Zhang Wuyou, with a total of 1030 points, ranked second, completed the assessment ahead of schedule. It took 4 hours. Following Yan Pianqing was another name that was beyond everyone's expectations.